So I'm not a fan of politics. I prefer to stay out of it and just play in my lane, entrepreneurship, community building. But my next guest gives me some oomph to really know what's going on there. At the very least, just to make sure my guy is cool. So I'm very excited to welcome to the Move the Needle podcast, probably the freshest politician in Hudson County, Councilman Yousef Saleh. What's up, my friend?
How you doing, Jose? It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be here. If it makes you feel any better, I don't like politics either.
Yo, so tell me about these J's, man. Let's start there.
Well, Siraj from Sneaker Room, he's...
shout out Sneaker Room.
You got to shout out Sneaker Room.
Absolutely.
You know.
Siraj is doing great things over there.
Heights Business.
Heights Business. That's your award.
Yes, Ward D. And basically, he told me, you know, this is what we got to do to step up your game in shoe game, because my shoe game was a little off. I'm not going to lie.
What would you have before? Reeboks?
I had New Balances.
Oof.
They were black New Balances, dad shoes. Very plain. I ran the 2 elections in them, and there were holes in them, so I didn't replace them.
And you won those 2 elections?
Yes.
Oh, man.
It was out of superstition. You can't change shoes.
Right. Jordan had the shorts underneath the shorts.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So...
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate you. Since we opened up this spot, you've been one of the first, in-service community members that has come in, has heard, has supported, has connected, has engaged with my community. So I'm greatly appreciative for you for that. And I'm excited to hear your story. You know, JC, what is it? JC's son, Fresh Prince of JC.
I'm loyal son of Jersey City, born and raised here, thankfully. And the son of immigrants, and been here all my life.
So today you're Councilman Ward D. What does that mean for the folks that don't know maybe Jersey City or the system here? And tell me a little bit about your journey.
So Ward D is comprised of the Heights and also
Jersey
downtown.
City Heights.
Yes, the Jersey City Heights, not Washington Heights. So,
right. I just had to confirm.
I haven't expanded my territories. So it is the Jersey City Heights area. It borders Sea Caucus, North Bergen, Union City, Hoboken, and it goes all the way downtown. We got a little Florida panhandle action.
You go downtown?
Yes, I am in this ward actually now too. This is the 16th Street.
We're the border
between
this side.
Yeah, between Hoboken and the what's it called? Holland Tunnel. That's the area.
Lackawanna Square.
Yes.
That's my square.
This is I am your elected official. So I represent you, and my journey here has been interesting. And I went to public school from Head Start all the way through law school. And each time, I got involved in high school, student
high school?
government, McNair Academic.
Hey, shout out McNair.
Shout out to the Cougars.
Hey.
the Cougars at McNair.
Wait, we'll edit this one out.
Edit that out, please. Okay. So... McNair Academic. I actually was the first to wear the costume, Freddy Cougar,
really?
at McNair. They purchased the mascot, and I was the only one tall enough to be the mascot. So, fun fact
that
I was the president of the student government by day and the Freddy Cougar by night.
Nothing's changed in that world.
And then I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick. And I got involved in residence hall government. Actually, it was because there was urinal flies. And I know no one knows this, but I'm since we're on the podcast, we're going to have to reveal intimate details about my journey.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of urinal flies, got involved in student government to get rid of it. And then
that was the only reason.
It was the catalyst, if you would.
Yeah. Part of the reason Yousef is councilman today is because of urinal flies.
Yes. It was in the news. It was in the Daily Targum.
Jesus.
I know. I was but built my, repertoire and then ended up running for student government president, the first democratic election at Rutgers, New Brunswick, and I won that race.
Congratulations. Wow.
It's a three-way dance, and I ran by myself, and I won. And I also ran at Rutgers Law School for the student body president. It's the SBA, Student Bar Association, and I won that.
What were you trying to clean up there?
Actually, it was the government itself. So we were trying to get a democratically elected president, and I actually became the first democratically elected president there.
Nice.
And then I got a water fill station, actually. So Newark had a big lead pipe problem. This was back in 2014. Then I was in law school, 2014, 2015. And there was a lot of lead pipes. They are really seriously addressing it now. But back then, you really couldn't drink the water there.
Right.
So back at Rutgers, New Brunswick, we piloted these water fill stations. So you'd put your bottle underneath the water fountain, and it would shoot like filtered water into your water bottle. And this was like my first foray into like trying to make sustainability a thing and sexy. And we gave out these student government water bottles made of metal. So
nice.
Instead of using plastic water bottles, you'd use the reusable water bottle. And then I exported that when I went to Rutgers Law School in Newark. We had the same idea, met with the facilities manager, and then we put filtered water station in the law school. And they're just doing that now, by the way, in the public schools. The MUA, they've been doing a good job.
What's MUA? I'm sorry.
The Municipal Utilities Authority.
Okay, cool.
So
I wasn't familiar, so thanks for clarifying that.
Anytime.
So high school, college, law school, you saw an issue that you wanted to resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, hold on. I didn't get a crystal clear high school reason why you joined student body government.
I ran the school store, and I was honestly the most involved, and I just ran for it. And
natural.
Yeah, I was just like, I was in AP US History and AP Government and Politics.
Were you guys reading about Howard Ziegler?
No.
That was one of the books I remember from that.
We the advisor for student government was one of the teachers, Mr. Selby. And he was like, "Oh, would you like to get involved in this, involved in that?" And I said yes all the time. So it kind of fell on me, but I was pretty passionate about it, and I did other activities. It wasn't just that. So
high school, college, law school. Did any of those prepare you for what you face now as a city elected official?
I think to some degree it does. But as a city elected official, it's like part student government and then part being a resident assistant in college. Like when I was a RA in one of the residence halls, that was probably akin to some of what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. The governance aspect, like spending money that the city has, approving things, the internal machinations of government, and meeting with different administrative officials in college, that is what prepared me for like the governmental side in city council. So if you combine the two, that'll prepare you for life in city government.
Nice. There you go. So now anybody knows what's going to be required.
Yeah.
So talk to me through the hop from law school to today. Did you work in the private sector at all?
I did. I worked at JP Morgan.
Was this after law school?
Right after law school.
Cool. What, compliance, AML or something? Yep, I figured legal.
Anti-money laundering and compliance. I had a fulfilling career in that space, and I decided to run for Board of Education in 2017.
While you were working at JP Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So all of this is like
Why Board of Ed? Or why from JP Morgan did you want to hop?
Well, I think like the dream was always to get a corporate job, to be able to pay bills and to have a fulfilling life and to be able to sustain myself. And, I'm one of 8. I have 7 sisters.
Wow.
My family's first generation immigrants I'm a first generation American. My mom and dad are immigrants that came here from Palestine, nothing but the clothes on their back. And,
I have a lot of childhood best friends from Palestine and beautiful people. So
we, we built a life here. And I think the goal is always for your children to have a better life than your parents did. So, it opens doors and opportunities. And I scratched and clawed my way to, being able to have a somewhat good life, the American dream, to achieve that. Right. And so I always wanted to get into the corporate sector and just have a good life, like achieve the American dream.
So JP Morgan afforded you that.
Yes.
And then what was tugging on your coat that said, "Hey, Board of Ed over here"?
I think the impetus for that was, you have to send the elevator back down to the next generation.
I like that.
That you have to, if you're afforded all these blessings, that it's on you to pass it down and pay it forward. Yep. Each one reach one. And if you could help one person.
So part of what I strive for on this podcast is the stories inside of the stories. So I start getting meticulous. So right now, I really want to know what you were doing at JP Morgan at some point, whether it was lunch, whether you got home, and then what was the scratch with the Board of Ed? Like, what was, most of the time what I've come to find out in these conversations, there's an event, there's a moment.
Mm-hmm.
What was, did you wake up one day and just say, "Hey, you know what? Let me go run for..."
I think the moment happened, to be frank, after 9/11. I was in the 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And all my life I wanted to be, up until the 7th grade, I wanted to be like an astronaut. I wanted to do other things. And I was heavily science and math focused. And what happened after 9/11 was, there was a lot of portrayals of Muslims on TV and even in the classroom that were, erroneous and slanderous towards Muslims. And I had like a moment where I was asking myself, like, hey, am I what these people are saying on TV? Like all these.
You had that reflection?
Yeah, because like you wonder.
You're a 7th grader.
You have to, like, they're saying all these things like about how Muslims are evil, and you're just like, am I evil? Like, is this religion that I practice evil? And it's like, you go on this journey and you're like, holy crap, like, they don't know, and then I basically have, took it upon myself. I said, we don't have any people representing Muslims in the public sphere. Like, that's the only reason that people can get away saying these things, that no one's out there challenging that narrative. And in addition, people need a good example to look up to. And I decided from that point on that I wanted to get involved.
Let's go.
That if you are not in the arena, then, you're basically going to be on the menu.
Thanks for sharing that.
So it was always there, like, in my heart. And I was like, even though I achieved a level of comfort in my life, that I knew that I had to continue down, this road of public service. So.
That's huge, man. Like, I would have never, personally speaking, my experience, I, for one, never thought about that, the other shoe. Like this right here, this moment, 12 years now, is the first time that you'd see it in the news and you'd sympathize in the sense of like, damn, they're being unjustly targeted. You'd hear it in some comedic specials with some great folks that speak to this. This is the first time that that I hear from someone now that's close to me and at that age. Like, I have no idea what to consider, and that really brings me much closer to understanding your story now.
Yeah.
Like, we can play the catch up, but that to me is like very profound, and I'm very appreciative that you've taken on that mission and purpose and that reflection to say, unless we're in those positions to show that that's not who we are, they can keep talking about things of that nature. So
people can keep flapping their lips about something they don't know. And that's why I'm not a perfect human being, but, I have tried my best to live a life of virtue and with a moral compass that points true north, because I know the barrier to entry into politics for someone of my background is going to be a lot higher than someone like Donald Trump.
Right.
You get those things get excused, for an individual, of that background. But for me, I have no room for error.
So what happened in that election what happened with the board? And to bring it back, just you're at JP Morgan, you decide to embark on this journey of civil service. How'd that?
I was like, it's the time, this is, it's 2017. I had spent 2 years at JP Morgan at that point, and I was pretty comfortable at where I was, mentally and financially and everything, like physically, like best shape of my life. And I was like, this is it. I'm like 27 years old, and time for me to step foot into the arena. And so I ran for Board of Ed. I received a very, very good education in politics at that point. I did lose, although it wasn't by much.
Was the loss the education, or can you expound on what you just?
I think Hudson County is interesting beast when it comes to politics, and it's like a baptism by fire. And it can be pretty eye-opening to a new entrant, into politics. And that's not to say that, you got to take the good with the bad. You learned about the different players in the arena and, how to maneuver through it.
So let me ask you this question, and I got to put you on the spot. Politics or Hudson County politics, is it cut and dry? Is it good and evil? Is it chess? Is it, if you run on pure virtue, things will pan out? What's that nature of that for folks that may not necessarily even imagine what that world looks like?
I think it's good. You can be a person of virtue in Hudson County politics. I think that there are good people. Sometimes I've seen, not just in Hudson County, but in all politics in general, that people do lose their way, or they lost what they came there for. And they make excuses in terms of like, okay, well, I excuse this, then, this would be permissible. It's like
starts pounding.
And then you just have to remember what you came there for. I never expected to become a councilman. I lost the Board of Ed race, and then I actually pulled back after that. And I don't know if you remember Pokemon, the first season, when he like made it to the league, and then he ended up losing that battle with his Charizard because he didn't. I know I'm getting pretty vivid here, but he just like collapsed to his knees and he started crying. Like, I felt like that. I was just like, oh my God, I worked so hard to get to this point and it was a failure. And I didn't expect to come back, into the arena after that. I was like, I'll focus on myself. I'll get involved when I want to, but nothing too crazy or serious. Then the pandemic hit, and that changed everything. So,
How so?
Well, the late Councilman Michael Yoon passed away from the coronavirus,
Remember that?
April 6, 2020. And
How close were you to politics at that point?
I was actually a part of his board, his community board.
Okay, so this is
I was one of the founding members before. This was
after
before
your loss.
After my
with
loss.
the board.
Yeah, I was
School
like,
board. You moved over to what? Or what? How did that?
just got involved locally with his community board. I, opined on different things. I would go to the Board of Ed meetings. I'd go to the community meetings.
You're showing up in community.
Yep. I wasn't actually like expressing too many opinions, but I opined when I felt it was needed, so the late councilman passed away, and initially I didn't want to put my name in the hat at all.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends told me, like, what are you doing? Why is your name not in the paper? Like, why aren't you even going for it? I was playing Nintendo Switch at home, Animal Crossing, was building my village there. And then, that part of the pandemic when we were playing Animal Crossing and people were baking or making whipped coffee. You remember? And they told me, I was like,
Who's they?
I had a few of my friends. They were just like, they did an intervention through the phone, and essentially they told me, like, why is your name not on the paper? And I was like, I'll do it 5-10 years from now. Like, why would I even risk it and risk going into politics in this moment? Like, the world can go to, hell or in a handbasket right now. Like, it could be one of those situations, The Last of Us or World War Z or Walking Dead. I don't know. No one knew what this virus was capable of. And I was like, not now, 5-10 years from now. And then they came back and they were like, my friends told me, leaders don't pick the time they want to lead. If you want to lead, you lead right now when times are difficult.
Right.
Like, you say you're a loyal son of Jersey City, like, time to step up. At least put your name in.
I don't hang my hat on history as far as my history knowledge goes, but something to the extent of never let a good crisis go to waste. I think that was Churchill. So it sounds like in a catastrophic moment in time, you're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the next. I'll wait for 10 years later, and you've got an incredible support system. That's bruh. Like, now's the time.
Your community needs you.
Yeah.
They need you right now, and not 5-10 years from now when it's all sunshine and rainbows. They need you when no one can see your face. You got to wear a face mask. You can't shake any hands. You can't kiss any babies. Everything is virtual. Like, and you have to lead, and you have to step into this void. This beloved leader just passed away, and somehow you have to, hit the ground running. That's it. So everything in your life has prepared you for this moment.
So what was that process like? So, did you submit your name in,
and then
this was 2020?
2020. Yep. So around like mid-April, I had interviews with the city council. The mayor interviewed me.
Did you know the mayor before this?
I did. Actually, since I was 17, I knew the mayor, and I emailed him, and he responded to my email when I was 17 just to meet him and get involved in politics. So I think part of my journey was having that mentor in politics, and he was so gracious about meeting me and guiding me and keeping me involved, whether it was voter registration drives, meetings with his community, and just he helped me in terms of like guiding my energy. I interned for his law department, and I always tried to lend my hand wherever I could.
Awesome.
And I just would give that advice to any of the kids out there, or even, teenagers, young adults, to just ask to get involved. Like, continue to email and just be like, hey, I've seen what you've done with this initiative, would love to help out, or would love to just get involved in the community, period. And, that's the best way to show your passion and show your energy. And that's what I did. And, the mayor gave me the courtesy via interview, and basically the city council voted on my behalf and voted in the affirmative. And it was essentially that I would have to run in a special election that November 2020. So,
it's funny because I remember coming down. I'm Union City. I'm a Union City lifer. I remember coming down Patterson Plank and just seeing all these posters of Yousef Saleh. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then I'm thinking about is he? And I don't want to mess this up. Is he Egyptian or Palestinian? The soccer player. Saleh.
Oh, Mo Salah. Yeah, he's Egyptian.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just seeing like Yousef Saleh. Who is this guy? Like the way that the investment was in your marketing campaign, solid. And then you would see Philip and Saleh, and I was like, okay, I don't know who this guy is, but it looks like a rising star.
Yep, I think.
How does that make you feel, man?
It was very surreal to see my face and name around the community, but I had a very short runway. Like, you have to get this plane up in the sky flying, and you don't have that much.
You're talking
time.
about a political campaign.
Yes. You have to run a political campaign while making sure people are getting tested for COVID, while people know, you have to help organize that, send the names in, etc. You have to deal with the regular day-to-day minutia of government and people's issues and problems. There was a lot of issues with restaurants and trying to help them get grants. We were having meetings with different sectors of the economy to see how we could reopen responsibly.
And then you still got to run.
Yeah, and then you have to. And I was still at JP Morgan at the time.
Holy, I forgot about that.
So it's everything. It was literally sprinting, and you had to try and fly. You jumping off this cliff, and you gotta make it work.
And then, at this time, if I can ask, that's all your professional career. What's family life? Girlfriend, engaged, or anything during this time?
I actually, am speaking to someone that has been with me, since the beginning of this journey. So, family life, I was with my family during the pandemic. I moved back in with them, even though I live in the Heights, but I didn't want to live alone, they live in the Heights as well. So I just,
and the reason I ask is, sometimes we get caught up in just the things that we do, and, how do you juggle family, personal, and pro? And in your case, you're doing pro at multiple lanes. So you have the special, was it called a special runoff?
Election. Special election, yeah.
Special election. Yep. You're still at JP Morgan. So what happened after the election? And you're no longer with JP Morgan.
No, not currently. So I left and focused on this full time, but I think I probably will have to go back to the corporate sector again.
And why is that? I
think just I have to, figure out my life goal and where I want to be in the next year or two. And, there's certain benchmarks you have in your head, maybe you want to accomplish this or accomplish that, life goals. We have our timeline, and then there's God's timeline. So we have to, all we can do is try, right?
Sweet, man. So now you had the special election was what, 2020, at the end of 2020?
And then I had to run again in the general election.
Which was when?
2021, November 2021. So it's...
Oh, so you did
two races back to back. And then, that's why it holds in the New Balances that I was talking about. So bringing it back to the sneakers. I did save them, though. So I didn't switch up the sneakers. We knocked on every door at least twice in each election.
Holy.
It was a lot of work.
So what we're in 2023, 2021. You get confirmed by the people. What are you proud of to date? And then let's talk about some of the things you're working on now.
I think I'm proud of, if all I achieved was to help my community during the pandemic, then I would die a happy man. Like, that would be my legacy. And, you know, I'm very proud of the way that we assisted the businesses, assisted people, got them to the vaccines. I would like help out with trying to schedule them and trying to get them where they need to be. And it was a Herculean effort, you know, on behalf of the government, whether it's the local government, state government. It's just, it was extraordinary. I look back at that time and I just, I don't know how we did it, but it was done. And I think now that we are in this post-COVID environment, it's still there, but now that people are vaccinated, it's a little safer. We're focusing on more governance and day-to-day issues that people struggle with.
Do you think it's funny you mentioned about how the Herculean effort.
Yeah.
You know, I'm growing a healthcare startup myself, and so during COVID, information management, contact tracing was a big thing. I'm curious on your thoughts on that. Was the worst, right? And we as a people came together to resolve it. Do you think there's room of folks getting complacent now that the worst is over? Now, can we move that Herculean effort, but in governance?
I think that we don't know if that's the worst. That's the problem. Not to be, you know, doomsday person, but I think that, you know, that's the worst that we, like, maybe once in a century pandemic, but we have to take the lessons from this pandemic and try to revisit our game plan and actually do it the right way the next time around. I think that there were many things that could be improved upon. If there was something a little more deadlier, if there was something a little more, you know, contagious even, I think that we need to prepare for the next one today. And that's, you never know when the next one's going to hit. And it's just, that's the crazy part. Like, we didn't expect this, did we? Like, no one did.
Nope.
And it came out of the blue. And we don't know when the next one's going to happen. That's what sometimes I think about, is we have to, as a society, just like make those investments, whether it's Medicare for all, you know, whether it's like trying to reach the most vulnerable in society and making them aware of different resources. And yeah, it just it's something that we have to have a game plan for the next time. I felt like we didn't have a game plan, clearly. Like,
and interesting you say that. I was chatting with the Hudson County Economic Development Corp maybe like a month ago, and they were just finishing a cohort. I think it was Wells Fargo, and you know, I'll let them correct me if I'm wrong. They're running these cohorts now, providing small business grants and resources around this disaster recovery. So they're, you know, I feel like they're aligned with the heed that you're taking on.
Yeah,
as to better preparation.
It's crazy. We had to relearn how to wash our hands. Like, you know, that part. Like, oh my God, it's just there was so much that I was just like astounded by. And it was pretty clean, you know, during COVID.
So let's turn the
like,
page.
why can't we do that today? All right, turn the page.
No, yeah, it's a reminder. But what I want to do is turn the page now. You're an experienced civic leader. move the needle?
I would say I'm getting there. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still like, when have you ever watched the Avatar with like
Of course.
Aang? Where he's learning, he's got the wind, the airbending. He's an airbender.
Yep.
Then he learns how to earth bend and water bend, and then he learns how to fire bend. Like I'm learning how to bend different, elements. And, part of that is first was the constituent services. And, we've got that pretty much unlocked. We're doing legislation, the budget, like we are advancing our operations, and we're trying to, now do educational series with the council office, teach people different things about government. Like how do you get like a speed hump, or how do you get a stop sign? What does a council person do? What's the best way to reach out? How do you reach out? XYZ, like just really trying to fill the gaps in for people.
Let me ask you this question, because you brought us here. What airbending learning are you doing or providing around entrepreneurship, economic development, and innovation? Because what we do here at Move the Needle. So I'm curious, as our elected councilman, what are you guys doing in that space?
I think we have been doing a bunch of things. Like I've been pretty vocal in terms of cannabis businesses opening up. That's been a new industry that's opened up. I know in the crypto and Web3 realm, I've embraced it. I know that there's a certain regulatory regime that has to be in place in order for it to be safe. And I know that a lot
that can be argued, but I'll let you keep going.
I just feel like, God, what's the guy that got arrested? The
SBF?
Yeah.
Bankman-Fried?
Yep. Basically, he's given, crypto a bad name. And, you got a lot of people on Capitol Hill that aren't too aware of like what it is and how to utilize it.
Oh, they're those guys?
They're definitely not our generation, which is fine. Like there are some older Congress people that are actually learning about AI. And,
have you used ChatGPT for yourself yet?
I have tried. I think it's supposed to be free, but then there was like a
right now it's about to go up. So depending on when you got in, but it is going into a paid version.
Yeah.
So so in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship, are you guys promoting that? Are you guys welcoming that? What resources are available? You're going to have a lot of business owners that are watching this.
So we have, if you're a new business, there are definitely local resources like the Jersey City Economic Development Corporation, that's JCEDC, and the NJEDA, and also the Hudson County EDA. They all assist with grants, loans, and if you are looking to start a business, there's certain those resources that you could go after, and get some funding for. I think the hot thing is the cannabis, obviously, but if you're looking for grant funding for, let's say, programming in the community, there's the community block development grants that are given out annually.
Is that with Deja?
Yeah, that's with Director Deja Anderson.
Yeah, I connected with her recently. Thank you for you and Brittany for making that introduction. Those are the kind of things that are very helpful for myself and what I'm trying to do here.
Anytime. We want to, I think the goal of the government should always be to help people that are lifting up the community. Like, we don't necessarily have to do everything. The government doesn't have to be the one to, fix a certain problem or fill a gap. Like, you can always empower others, right, to help fill those gaps, whether it's home ownership, whether it's, healthcare. The government can't do everything. It's not, God, it's not like
Right.
You know, it's imperfect, unfortunately. Like, it is fallible, just like you and I, you know, because it is run by human beings. And,
Yeah.
but the best thing that the government can be is like a tool for others to, you know, empower the community. Right.
And you, as you under the label of government, what are 3 initiatives that you're working arduously on today and in the near future that your folks can be aware of?
I think that, you know, some of the most pressing issues that we're facing right now is regarding rent control and maybe abusive landlords and entities that have bought up property in Jersey City and operating under no enforcement of rent control. So my initiative, I have an initiative that is going to tighten up the rent control laws, Chapter 260, and basically be a stopgap. So, like, let's say you're under a landlord, and even you're contesting, you know, the rent that you've been given.
Mm-hmm.
When you contest it currently, what happens is you have to pay the new rent. So it's the higher rent, and then maybe down the line you'll get a rebate back for the rent that you paid if it comes out in your favor, which is like, you know, that means you have to put the capital up immediately,
right?
And
no
hope to God that, you know, you can last long enough to, you know, fight the fight. So what I'm doing is I'm going to change it so that you would basically have your rent frozen. You'd have to put the money in escrow, right, until it's decided whether or not you have to pay the new rent. We're going to put a citywide database for anything under rent control, as well as buildings that are exempt from rent control. Back in the 80s, 1987, the state passed a law that granted new constructions a 30-year exemption from rent control. So it was to encourage growth and, you know, building. But some of these buildings, they had carte blanche, like they never actually filed for the rent control exemption. Like when you file your taxes, you have to file for certain credits, like to be able to avail yourself of that benefit. And that didn't happen in some cases. So we want to tighten it up so that we have a citywide database that is public. And if you don't file for the rent control exemption, then you can't be exempt from rent. Then you are not rent control exempt.
Right.
That means
the least you can do is the requirements that are needed.
There's, you know, a few other initiatives, but those are the pretty big ones that we're trying to tackle on the city council. I'm working on an accessibility commission as well. That's an initiative that is going to empower members of the community to help create recommendations for a more accessible society for children and adults that are either disabled or have learning or developmental disabilities. You name it, like they would have purview over it. Like if they want to recommend a wheelchair swing set at the local park, or if they want to have trainings with the police officers, how to respond to someone with a mental disability or a physical disability, like these are issues we're trying to tackle. We also want to have, like, if they want to recommend OEM, the Office of Emergency Management, to have a list of individuals that have disabilities in each ward, in case of natural disaster, they know, you know, who to make sure to, you know, reach out to and make sure people are okay. So I think these are things that we're thinking about. We want to empower people that have often, you know, not been given a seat at the table. I have a sister with Down syndrome, and I remember growing up, like, really you didn't know what resources to go out and get, or who would give you the resources. So we want to bring everyone at the table, maybe do a parents' night where they learn about how you could get resources for your school, like a individualized education plan
That's incredible.
for your child. And then last but not least, we're looking at a tech fair, hopefully very soon in Jersey City. I think the growth of Jersey City and just like the people here and the diversity, it really it's a strategic advantage that we have as a city that we need to leverage. And I think bringing a tech fair here and bring the best minds, not just from Jersey City, but everywhere to present.
Make this a destination.
Absolutely. We have a lot of talent here. And I think whether it's the rent control or, the different initiatives that we're doing, we want to keep that talent here. So, the tech fair is going to be able to, like, I'm open to ideas if it's just be a Jersey City tech fair, or if should we open it up? Like, I think we should highlight the best.
Is there a tech fair now?
There is no tech fair right now. Not that I know of. I know that there's like a science gala at the Liberty Science Center, but I think like strictly focused on tech and having a tech fair in Jersey City, that hasn't been done yet. So
can I put you on the spot?
Sure.
You mind if I put you on the spot? Everybody's going to see this.
We didn't rehearse this, but go ahead.
So I've been thinking about this, and I was going to bring it up to you privately, but I feel like right now is best of time.
Let's do it.
Take a deep
Lay it on me.
So I love the idea of a tech fair. Obviously, we're running a tech co-working community here, an event venue. People can come in, and we can help iterate, prototype, whether you're a startup, foster, connect you with big brands. One of the ideas that has come up to me recently, and I've been putting it together, is how about a Jersey City Hack Week?
Like a hackathon?
Like a hackathon, but it is going to be emergence of tech and civic. What's a hackathon? The purpose is to bring minds together to come up with a solution, even if it's to prototype it. So I'm going to invite you to consider if I can bring a proposal to you around doing a Jersey City Hack Week where we merge tech and we look at challenges that the city has and bring students all the way up to community adults, members, and let's come up with some solutions.
Okay.
At the very least, I think that would be a fun.
I mean, you saw high tech recently, like the county schools. Someone put a ransomware on their servers, and it was just a mess. They couldn't access the internet.
Right.
I don't know how they resolved it, but we should be teaching more of the white hats, like how to basically find those vulnerabilities and remediate them and fix them before they are exploited by the not so good people, unscrupulous actors of the world.
So let's discuss that offline. Let's come up with a couple of items that may have come up over the last couple of years that would be, pretty innovative to think about and figure out with involving the community. So I wanted to throw that out there. So thanks for considering it.
I'm open to anything and everything. I always tell people this seat is your seat. Like this is,
So can I sit in your chair in the council?
Yes, you can. I would. That seat
but I need
belongs
2 mics.
to the people.
I need 2 mics.
Yeah.
So there's thank you for your time. I want to close out with two last questions that I'm inviting everyone to. The first one is, we heard your story, profound. We know what you stand for, what you're fighting for. What would you tell folks when the question is asked, what is Councilman Yousef Saleh's superpowers?
Wait, so if someone asks me what my superpower is?
Yes. You can take a breath, take a moment.
If I had, am I naming them or am I like?
Give me one.
I think love and patience.
Hey.
I think, and perseverance. If anything, like, I care too much. That's my that maybe that's a strength and a weakness. I don't know. I just, I feel like I have this once in a lifetime, once in a history time opportunity to shape and mold my community for better, to make it like the council person position is a unique role because it impacts your life in a very intimate way. Like that pothole you hit on the street, the parks, just where your funding goes, things in your community that can be fixed or can't be fixed. We're not God, but like I feel like I have this unique opportunity, and part of my superpower is that like I'm always here. That's why I always call myself the loyal son. I got my passport in 2020, late 2019, and I was going to travel in 2020, and I like hadn't traveled my whole adult life for 25 years since I was 5 years old. And I was going to leave the country and just do like this whole world tour, like Mr. 305, just like go around the world. But I have stayed, I haven't gone on that vacation, and I am just, here. I'm always here, and I'll always be here for as long as the people need me. I'm expending this energy and I have so much love for my community, even the people that don't like me. Like I love them, and I want them to know that even the criticism makes me work harder, whatever it is, like I'm on their side, and I want my community to be better than the way I found it and the way I grew up. So
yeah, I appreciate your grace. I've seen you in spaces where you've had criticism, and you've handled that with incredible poise, with the ultimate interest of the best interest and intentions of your community. I do hope you find vacation and a break this year.
I hope so.
And and to close out, I always ask everyone here, what's your word for the year? So for me, my word is commitment. This year is ensuring that I commit to myself, my health first, my personal home first, before all the other things. Because by holding commitments to myself, I can accomplish the goals that I've set out for myself personally. What's your word? And if you haven't had a word, take a moment, and whatever comes up, and I won't hold you to it if you haven't.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Alhamdulillah, which is like
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Basically, thank you, God, for everything, the good, the bad. It all molds me into the person that I need to be.
Gratitude.
Yes. That's the word of the year. No matter what I'm struggling with, I need to be grateful.
There's blessings in disguise.
100%. And you never know until hindsight's always 20/20. When you're done, that's when you figure it out. Like, damn, that was for the best. Like I said, we plan, but God is the best of planners.
Absolutely. Councilman Yousef, the freshest politician in the Hudson County block. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you greatly, and I look forward to us growing our relationship and serving our community together.
I want to thank you for those beautiful words and for giving me a moment of your time and sharing this between you and me, because I divulged more than I wanted to, but that's what happens when you have someone good, on the other side, and with
I appreciate
energy and chemistry.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.